Let's get this thing started. All right. So a very warm welcome to the lovely Emma Loftus. A welcome back to the BAFT stage.
Yeah.
As Bob mentioned, we have a few questions during our poolside chat on the future of payments. But to understand the future, we got to talk a little bit about the past and present and where we stand with payments. But even before then, we would like to get to know you a little bit better, Emma. So can you please tell us, what was your first job in banking?
And Todd was very kind. Todd knows me, and we will not admit how long we've known one another, nor when we actually started our careers in banking, because we started our careers at Bankers Trust a long time ago. I was recruited out of college back when banks were trying to figure out how to monetize their back office operations. So I entered a management development program at Bankers Trust to manage ops, and I did that for 15 years. My first job in that training program was I managed the billing department. And as you can imagine, you learn resilience because no one calls you to tell you that they really love their bill and they were really happy that you overcharged them for something. So you learn how to handle client inquiries, and you understand the accuracy of actually delivering operation services that clients depend on. And then you actually touch and feel things that don't exist anymore. So when I was back in statement rendering, it was all manual, it was all machine driven. And quite frankly, now most of it is digital. So that was it. And good grounding for what I do today in treasury management, because it's really all about how you figure out how to run the business in the back office.
That's right. And again, our topic today is payments. So we would love to know any podcasts you're listening to right now, any TV shows that have any parallels to what you see in the payments world.
Okay. So payments folks in the audience, do you ever have a hard time explaining what you do at home? Yeah. Sadly, when I talk about some of the more difficult compliance and risk related things, it goes over my family's head. But what do you see now on television? Does anyone watch My Friends and Neighbors on HBO? John Hamm, trying to introduce the bad guy, the villain, into the financial system. They're talking about OFAC, SDN. So I point to my husband and I said, see, this is the stuff I talk about all the time. He's like, oh, okay. I said, yeah, that's not the good part of banking, and that's not the good part of what I do for a living. So unfortunately, we tend to be characterized on the things that are probably not the most positive aspects of banking. How often do you see someone say, I got my money in 2 seconds? Isn't that great? Yeah, very rarely. So then when I listen to podcasts, it's typically any clearinghouse folks in the room? No. The Payment Nerds podcast that the clearinghouse puts out. It's actually pretty good. So if you want to learn a little bit about what's actually important in the industry, these are industry practitioners. And then leaders in payments too is also good. You learn a little bit about who are the faces and names of people who are actually changing the industry. So
thank you, Emma. A couple new ones for our watch list. All right, time to dive in.
Okay.
We'll set the scene. Year is 2020. It's January of 2020. You've been with PNC for about 1 month. You have no idea the world and payments are about to change. What would you say was the one most impactful change in payments over the last 5-ish years?
So I'm a TM lifer. I shared with you all, I started in operations, did that for about 15 years, then moved into product. I had my big opportunity. I was at JP Morgan. I was running the payments business. And if you all work at big banks, you know, they're siloed. It's turtles all the way down, right? Like, so you're in these big silos. You're either doing product or operations, but you're kind of doing the same thing globally. It's big. I wanted to run the whole thing. And PNC was looking to replace a leader who had run the business for a long time. Jim Graham, I don't know if any of you all know Jim in the audience, lifelong PNC practitioner. And at PNC, running treasury management it's a self-contained business. So it's operations, it's service, it's product management. And that was really what I wanted to do next. I wanted to put all the puzzle pieces together. So I left, joined PNC, like Angel said, 1 month in, big new job. What happens in March of 2020? Pandemic, right? Yeah. So here's my big fancy new job. I actually spent a ton of time focusing on my operations background because that was mission number one. You wanted to make sure your operations were in place. We run an in-person lockbox operation, trade operation. We needed to make sure our employees were protected. Then we need to pivot to help our clients. And then we pivoted to actually, how do I pay for things when I can't go to the store anymore, when I need to purchase online, and when I need to do something digitally that I hadn't done before. So what was the most impactful change? That wholesale almost overnight pivot that many of my clients had to make to move their businesses online if they actually wanted to stay in business. And you all know in times of stress, like making sure that the money actually gets there when it needs to get there because everything else is up in the air. That whole certainty, visibility, making sure that money is where it needs to go exploded during that time. So we knew it was going to progress in the industry. We knew real time was coming, but that trigger event really flipped everything. Also, the migration from paper. I think a lot of my clients recognized that they were running a receivables operation on their desks. So that wholesale shift to moving away from paper disbursements, paper collections to digital really amplified because people weren't actually there to do those operations any longer. And it hasn't slowed down. So from 2020 beyond, I think this pace of change that we're all seeing, like if you don't like what's happening now, you actually don't like what this business is, because this is when it's most exciting because really everything is shifting at the same time. And, it's hard to choose exactly what one thing is the most exciting, but I think that was the biggest shift.
And if you look back, it is, like you said, night and day from where we were 5 years ago to present, which brings us now to the present. And a very big question for you. When you're thinking about the world of payments today, what is the thing that keeps you up at night?
All right. I don't want to bring it down. We're having a nice lunch here. I'm worried about relevance long term. Is anyone worried about relevance as a bank provider long term? No? Well, you guys all have it sorted out. So I'll have to talk to you after the lunch. I am really worried because payments is the center of our value proposition. So if you think about it from the retail perspective, payments is why cash stays in a consumer's account, right? You can see it. If you bring that upstream as a bank provider, having that client's disbursements is really what assures that overnight liquidity. It's about the primacy of supporting our clients' disbursements long term so that we can also retain the balances, which, as you know, is really the recipe for success in the operating businesses. That's what I'm worried about. So unless we're actually thinking about how do we make sure that clients are doing those activities with their relationships with their bank provider, we're actually going to start to see, if we haven't seen already, which I know many of us have seen already, we're going to see that activity start to flow out of the accounts. And it just amplifies unless we're thinking about it from the client perspective. And so that's what we're doing. So am I worried about relevance long term because we haven't figured it out? No, I think we're starting to figure it out. Am I worried that if we don't move quickly, it could materialize a lot faster than we think? Yes, it could, because there's a lot of movement in the regulatory environment now around bank charters. You all know this, where we're going to have some very nimble competitors looking a lot like financial institutions. And so unless we're there surrounding our clients with really quality experience to say, do your activity with your bank provider, I'm worried about what that business is going to look like. Maybe not a problem for me, but certainly a problem 5 years from now. So that's it. I hope I haven't brought the mood out. Nobody's, leaving in tears to try and figure it out. But I love being in a crowd with predominantly financial institutions, right? Because our problems are very similar, right? And so we tend to be very collaborative in these times because it's not one financial institution that can figure it out alone. It's just it's why I love the treasury management business. No one person has ever been successful in treasury management all by themselves. It's a team sport. But as we think about coming together as financial institutions, thinking about common challenges, thinking about how we can leverage infrastructure solutions, things that we've been working on together for years, that's how we come together to actually address this common issue that we have. And so thanks, you perked me up.
And everyone's still here.
All right.
We didn't lose anyone. So to take a quick step back slightly when you're talking about the large changes we've seen in payments already. My next question, what do you think is the most disruptive force right now in bank-to-bank payments? Not will be, but right now. And I think I would actually like to challenge the audience before we get Emma's answer. We don't have a Slido today, so we have to do it old school, harassment. So I'd like someone from the audience to shout out, tell me what you think the most disruptive thing in payments, bank to bank, right now. Nick, you're making eye contact with me.
I'll give him 3 choices.
Challenge providers are such a very good alternative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Already.
Okay. Fantastic. Anyone else want to question Nick? Yes.
And then base the real world.
Fantastic. Emma, what do we think about those two?
Yeah, we have to think about all of them at the same time, don't we? I think the here and now, our client base at PNC is predominantly corporate. And where I'm really interested right now is this, the integration with our clients' bank software. So payments more and more are becoming this kind of invisible thing that gets built into our clients' ERP systems. Then payments and the provision of that treasury management capability as the front door to a conversation with clients. What we're finding more and more is how you actually orchestrate it into the software that the clients, frankly, most of our clients have paid a lot of money for these ERP platforms or their treasury workstations or what have you. It's how you integrate those capabilities into the ERPs faster than those software companies figure out how to do it themselves. That is really accelerating our drive towards API enablement, connectors, showing up with toolkits that allow clients to implement things overnight as opposed to having to deploy massive technology resources. I feel like that is really my here and now challenge. But at the same time, our clients are already thinking about tokenized deposits. They're thinking about stablecoin. They're thinking about crypto as a component of their overall service offering for their clients. Do I think that that's going to drive value right away for our firm? No, but do I see it in the industry and do I see it globally taking on more and more importance? For sure. And I can't think about any one thing in a vacuum, because if you organize yourself around your client, like the clients don't want to hear what I like it when they like to hear what I have to say about things, but they actually want me to talk to them about what their challenges are. And if challenges are being able to say yes across the entire continuum of delivering money quickly in a secure way with trusted partners in the form of settlement that will best fit their needs, I want to be able to say yes. So that means I have to address it across the continuum. So we got a lot of, everyone have these irons in the fire. Am I saying, I see a lot of nodding faces. Do you feel like, I get asked by our senior executives, does that mean I can stop doing any of these things? I said, no, not anytime soon. We still run an in-house lockbox. We still run paper. We have paper disbursements all the way through my most sophisticated clients who want to deliver, crypto into a wallet that I have never even heard of before. That's really where we have to manage across the continuum. So that's, again, back to the point about that's fun, right?
Thanks for that, Emma. Thank you, my volunteers. So when we attend these BAFT conferences, and I think everyone notices there's a few central themes that kind of come together every year, every conference. This one's no different. So one particular right now, why is it so hard to make cross-border payments easier and faster? What's the hang up? And again, I won't call anyone out personally this time, but I'll give you 3 options. I'd love to see a show of hands from our audience before Emma gives us, her perspective. What do we think the hang up is? Number 1, stagnation in the banking industry. Anyone? 1. Lack of common standards. Okay, a few more. Lack of single technology. No one. Okay, a 4th mystery option. Emma, what's our 4th mystery option? What are we missing? What's the hang up?
All of the above.
Okay.
So as a long time cross-border payments practitioner, so moving money And my specialty was moving dollars. I'm based in the US, so it was dollars globally. It was not how quickly we could actually move the currency. It had more to do with everything that you had to orchestrate to actually deliver that in a secure way. So we're dealing with massive bank infrastructure that we all invested in years ago, right? Legacy technology supporting all of your bank operations, supporting all of your liquidity. So there is a technical challenge, right? So we're all dealing with infrastructure that's been built up over time. When you're sending dollar, my specialty, globally, we're not just dealing with the US regulatory environment, we're dealing with regulations globally on how consumers are credited, how money has to be delivered based upon AML, BSA requirements globally, how we are managing fraud detection for our clients in ways that can actually act as a belt and suspenders for our clients. And so when you add all of that multiplier, years ago, I used to sit with clients in China and they would say, hey, let's see how fast your US dollar payments work. Mm-hmm. And they would laugh and they'd say, no way, our accounts are going to be credited in a minute. And we would sit there and it would credit the account in a minute. It was about visibility. My clients wanted to know with certainty, how would the funds arrive, by when, how much would actually show up in the account. So fees and deductions, they wanted to have assurance. And they wanted to have that transparently delivered so that when they got a call from their customer, they could tell them with assurance that the money was in the account. To orchestrate that globally is very, very difficult. I think, though, we have made amazing strides on being able to do that. So back to the point about working with consortium. So working through the SWIFT network, working with the clearinghouse, working with our local industry partners, and working with other banks to be able to overcome those objections, we've really come a long way. So why is it still difficult? Us moving money globally is still difficult. Does it have to be difficult? No, it doesn't. And I know we've all made tremendous investments in making that easier for our clients. Do we have to do it all of ourselves? No, we buy, build, and partner in the industry to be able to achieve that. And so being able to orchestrate that kind of solution for your clients is really good. But I do get really tired about everyone always pointing at, it's easy to kick the banks and say, oh, it's all their fault, right? I don't know. Some of us move money pretty quickly, right? But it doesn't mean we can rest and not think about introducing new technologies and capabilities to be able to orchestrate that for our clients. That agree? Yeah. Okay, good.
Thank you, Emma. All right, we've covered the past.
Okay.
We covered the present. It is time. Future of payments. My question to you. In the next 5 years, payment rails are going to be moving towards real-time payments. With the rise of Stripe, fintechs, and other blockchain technologies, how do banks compete or adapt to this larger shift in payment settlement?
So I'm laughing because so let me go back and then I'll go into the future. I talk about payments a lot. I love it, can geek out on it forever. Maybe 10, 15 years ago when Ripple and Bitcoin was really big, I would be invited to speak at conferences and you very quickly knew if you were the only bank person on the audience, what was my assigned role? Oh, look at that poor woman. She doesn't know she's going to actually be out of a job next year. So let's hear about her quaint ideas on payments. I'm still here. So I'm still here. I think we have figured out, back to that point about build, buy, and partner, we've figured out how to do that effectively to stay back to that point about relevance. We've been able to pivot very quickly by anchoring, like we anchor on our clients, right? At the end of the day, we own our client relationships. And if our clients have a need and we haven't met it, it's hard for me to say to my client, oh, you should definitely not go outside of your bank group or go to that fintech to get that solution you need. They're trying to grow their business. So it's really on us to be able to listen very carefully do what we can, either building it ourselves, partnering, securing these services, working with other bank partners in the room, frankly, to be able to satisfy that requirement so that we can stay ahead of competition that recognizes where there are gaps in our service offering and have organized their businesses around that. How can you object to that? They've found a niche for themselves and they've moved in. I think what's going to be winning at the end of the day, though, for ourselves as partners, it's trust. Like, say what you will about risk and trust and fraud management and how it can be frictionful and kind of clunky sometimes. But boy, we really care about making sure that those transactions are assured and we know our business. So trust is going to be the winner at the end of the day. Being able to be complete for your clients, so being open-minded about what does that mean to put together solutions to remain relevant, critical. And then being able to partner to be able to do that and relying on others who are in similar situations. That's what the future of payments is going to be like. So all of these settlement mechanisms are going to be real and relevant. You're going to have a client who wants to be able to participate across that gamut. And if you're going to support a client who always wants to say yes, you're going to have to be able to service that. You don't have to do that all by yourself, though, right? So finding out how you can leverage your knowledge and continually bringing back to what do my clients need? And is this a big need? Payment gateways. So PNC acquired Tempest Technologies several years ago because when we were engaging with our corporate clients, all of a sudden our clients really wanted to hear more from our gateway provider than they really wanted to hear about this person who was going to talk to them about how they settle those transactions. We needed to bring that closer to our value proposition. I think that that's going to be the reality as we go forward, is what do you need to do yourself because it's core? What do you need to partner because that's just to satisfy a need? And what do you actually need to invent or transform or connect to? I think that's just going to be the way it is going to be for the next few years, right? And then don't get me started on AI. I know.
It's for another day.
I know. Has anyone seen that commercial? Now it's AI. Yeah, that's what I know. That's what I feel like sometimes.
Sure, we can skip.
Yes.
So with everything we've discussed today in mind, in your opinion, to be successful in global payments, what 2 or 3 priorities should a bank focus on in the short term?
So I've said, brilliantly boring. That's our tagline. Clients, got to anchor on your clients. Really, that's the relationship you own. It's what you know best. They trust you. They do business with you. In many cases, that relationship spans more than one product line. Anchor on your clients. And then when I think about the future, you really do have to be open to all of these possibilities. And I know it can be overwhelming. And I made a joke about AI. But agentic payments in particular, it's very real now. And who are we going to actually be interacting with? Is it going to be an agent? Is it going to be our clients, treasurers? Like, how's that all going to work long term? Being curious about that and challenging yourself to think about things that may not be really near term, but could be terribly impactful long terms, leveraging that strong strength of detail that we have. Because listen, I grew up in the foundations of this business to actually reinvent this business for the future. In many cases, the connection points to that foundational work are going to be critical. So it's curiosity and being open to reinventing the value proposition because I think it's very real and could be very intimidating and scary. But honestly, if a banker is saying that, your clients are saying that too, showing up in a way that says, hey, we haven't figured it all out yet, but here's where we think it's going. And then partnering with each other at conferences like this to figure out, hey, was somebody else figured this out? I think that's going to be critical. And those were 2 things. And thinking about the third thing is leveraging opportunities. And maybe this is just personal. I've been in the business for a long time. Someone took a bet on me a long time ago when like the biggest innovation was getting rid of the telex machine, right? Like, anyone know what that is? Right? Remember when you had one of them left and you had to put like little ropes around it because someone couldn't break it because no one could repair it? Someone took a bet on me then it's taking a bet on a generation who is growing up with this is like core to their being, is like how we're actually going to invent the future of treasury management too. So it's being able to welcome these inventors, these naysayers, these like, hey, that sounds really boring, grandma. It's like, I don't, what are you talking about? I don't even know half this. So I mentioned the wallets that I have no idea exist. My kids use my money, so they know what all these wallets are all about, right? So taking a chance on that next generation of leaders to help join us on this journey to reinvent what that future looks like for us as bankers. So continuing to sponsor these types of programs, I think it's going to be critical, right? Some of the stuff I don't use today, it's not intuitive to me, but it certainly is to the graduates that I have joining the treasury management organization. So giving them a shot to have some fun with it. And now with AI allowing everyone to be a technologist and inventor, we're like, why not, right? Within the guardrails of a safe space in a bank environment.
Thank you, Ella. And I think your last comment actually segues perfectly to my final question before we'd like to open it up for any audience questions. But, as Bob mentioned, I come from the Future Leader Program. So on behalf of myself and my fellow future leaders in the room, we want to know how we become the next Emma Loftus. How do we step into your shoes?
Dear.
Give us some wisdom.
Thank you. I suggest you don't take the twists and turns that I have. Be curious all the time. Really be open. And I think about the opportunities that I have been offered haven't been like wrapped up in a bow and given to me to say, here is this wonderful opportunity for you, Emma Loftus. Please take this. It's been, here's a platform. Not quite sure how it's going to be, but we need to do this. Like, why don't you go ahead and run with it? Being willing to just do that without a clear outcome in mind, but because someone gave you that opportunity and you can make something of it, it's grabbing that. I don't know also all the answers. So being able to take risks. I didn't take enough risks, I think, early on when I should have, before have a house and kids and like financial obligations and things like that. So being a little bit more open to taking a risk with your career. Let's face it, we're going to be like 100, 105, 120. Like we can reinvent our careers many, many times. I don't know that thought though. Hopefully the brain is coming along with me if the body is still moving around at 120. I think taking more risks, because risk takers are going to be the ones that invent the future. I would do that. And how big is your risk if you're 25, right? It's not as big as when you're my age. And then working with people, these are my people, working with people you really like. I think that has gone a long way towards keeping me in this business. I love treasury management. Some people, people look at you now like, oh, that's all you've ever done. I find this business endlessly fascinated. There's always been something new. There's always been some new innovation. There's been some new angle. I've seen the world. Back here in the US, it's funny, I've seen, I think, more places outside the US than in the US. So I'm enjoying really that experience now with PNC. But being open to that and working with really great people and actually getting enjoyment out of helping clients do their jobs better and helping them run their businesses better, that goes a long way. So there's a lot of fulfillment coming in work. Like, listen, what we do for a living is hard, right? It's not always glamorous and it's not always super exciting. So actually getting a little bit more out of that because you really enjoy the people you're working with and you can, geek out on common challenges. It's really sustained me a long way in this career. So
thank you, Emma. We very much appreciate your insights. And again, now we'd love to open it up to any audience questions. Perhaps a future leader could start us off.
that was a steer.
Where are they?
Yep.
Hi, Emma. We just did a presentation earlier on digital assets, and maybe a very broad question, but maybe you could talk about how you're prioritizing that as a use case within PNC.
So I mentioned it before. So build, buy, partner. But for us, and then organizing around the clients, very important to our clients to actually be able to support that in their portfolio. So we partner. It's public. We announced it, it's been a year yet, almost a year, a partnership with Coinbase to be able to support our wealth clients who would like to maintain crypto as a component of their overall holdings. They can connect to their Coinbase account through their PNC experience. So again, back to anchoring on the client, our underlying business model doesn't mean that us building our own coin, building our own blockchain network, building all of that infrastructure ourselves is critical. That isn't really our client base, nor our underlying operating model. But do our clients want to participate in those markets? And will we eventually have to move assets in and out? Yes. And so that's where we prioritize the use case. But again, partnership for us was the right solution. It's working really well, and our clients are really happy.
Thank you. Anyone else? Final questions?
Thank you so much for this chat, cool chat. Do you have any piece of advice for female future leaders that you would be willing to share?
Yeah, there should be more of us in the room, right? Yeah. Yay. I have, my point earlier about working with people you really loved and, you really like and respect, I have benefited from that through my career, and it supported me through some really important life events. So caring for my children, working mom to dual income households. I wish I had someone who could stay at home with my kids all the time, but my husband and I both worked. Taking care of my mom. She moved in with us for 4 years. So caring for aged parents. I worked with great people who recognized what was going on at home. I felt really comfortable talking about what I needed and what I needed to do. And I was supported. And for that, I worked even harder and was even more aligned because I really just love working with people that were really happy that I was here contributing and recognized what was going on at home. I don't think that's just unique to women. I think in general, everyone should be very comfortable working with people and sharing what's, you never know what's going on at home. But because we work so hard and we work such long hours, you tend to bring that. But it was the people I worked with that could support me through life events. Being assertive, listen, I started in operations a long time ago. People were still smoking in the office. Remember that? Right. That was a long time ago, right? People call me girly. Hey, girly. I know. Yikes. So persevering and being tough too didn't necessarily mean I became someone I wasn't, but having the courage to stand up for myself and being able to rely on a supportive management team where that was encouraged and supported. That's what, be courageous, speak up for what you want, be able to define boundaries, protect what's really important to you. And that worked really well for me. And it didn't, and even if you're out of alignment, don't think you're trapped. There are always options. Sometimes you think, oh my gosh, there's no option. Talent is in demand everywhere, right? So always know what your value is. And if you're out of alignment with what's really important to you and where you work or what you're doing or how you're aligned or the strategies you're supporting, pick your head up and make sure that you're assessing what's out there for you. That helps. I'm sure a lot of women in the audience would have similar stories to share.
With that, Emma, I think we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Thank you so much
Enough of me.
for your participation today. We greatly appreciate all your insights. The lovely Emma Loftus.
Thank you.